brilliant. Welcome to another episode of Doctor Who Time and Space, a weekly Doctor Who podcast starring me, Lewis Moon.
And me, Dr. Cool.
We're here once again, and it's episode 249.
Ooh.
So we're so close to another monumental milestone, I believe.
Close to that big 250 thing.
Extravaganza. Doesn't actually seem like that long ago, since 200, does it?
It doesn't actually, no. It's gone very quick, isn't it?
It has gone very quick. So we'll be revealing some of the things we'll be doing. I mean, it won't be as special as the 200th show. No. But I'd love to have some sort of big news that came out. Like last time we had the Time for Heroes trailer released.
Did we?
On the day of our...
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So big things do happen. I can't imagine we're going to get anything particularly big news-wise for the next 12 months or so.
12 months?
No, 6 months. Maybe not even that. 4 months?
4 months.
4
3
months,
months,
maybe.
I'm going to say.
Not for the next sort of period of time. Not to the next new series. Sort of just before it, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Not
so
until
I'm rambling
season.
really much because I'm sort of trying to get things prepared in the background because we're in a slightly different setup than we normally are.
Yes. So
hence why we're on YouTube rather than on the usual direct to Podomatic.
But we will be you might be listening to us on Podomatic.
Because we always put it on there afterwards.
Yes, so we will be on Podomatic and YouTube, which can be a good thing because our YouTube viewers sometimes are unaware of Podomatic and our Podomatic address.
That is true.
And then sometimes get a regular taste on YouTube.
They do indeed. So what are they going to be getting a taste of today?
This week we're going to be discussing one story from each Doctor that we'd most like to avoid. So maybe hard with a few of the Doctors because you've got some awful episodes and some brilliant episodes.
Yeah.
But we've got some brilliant eras, particularly with John Pertwee. That will be a hard one.
Yeah, no, definitely. Actually.
But we've got some of the episodes that we think you should avoid from each Doctor, from Hartnell to Capaldi.
Excellent. We'll also be reviewing the first Matt Smith episode, which is called
The 11th Hour. Did you forget?
Yeah, I had a memory block, and I was thinking if I wink at you, I'll be able to get away with it. Yes. But you decided to humiliate me live on air. We also have.
What I was going to say is it's the second it's the second post-regeneration story in a row.
Yeah.
Because we had Castrovalva last week.
We did. That's right, we did. I was just thinking about the new setup. We haven't got the randomizer on us, so we'll probably have to tweak the randomizer a bit afterwards.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. But that's the way things go.
Can't we just click a random thing?
So, and then on top of that, we have.
Let's watch Horror Fang.
Yeah, that's right.
On top of that, we have the latest news and views.
Excellent. I'm just thinking about that actually. So I'm thinking aloud. Sorry, viewers. It's as if you're not in the room with us. Yeah. But perhaps what we should do, because we haven't actually got the randomizer physically with us, we should watch the one that came up last week.
Oh,
Dalek Invasion.
Oh no! Yeah. Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
We should have revealed that at the end.
Yeah, well, we could have done. It's too late now.
We'll remind you at the end.
We will. Yeah, we'd have forgotten by then anyway.
We will have forgotten. Dalek Invasion of Earth.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yes,
that's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Excellent. Right then, so
I love Dalek Invasion of Earth.
Yeah.
Will we be watching that over 2 weeks?
We'd have to watch it over 2. Yeah.
Yes, because 6-part stories we watch over 2 weeks.
We do.
So I'm the randomizer.
Yeah. Good stuff. Right. Yes. Okay. Well, it's been quite a hectic, chaotic opening to the show.
It has been because we forgot about the randomizer.
We forgot about the randomizer. We forgot how everything works.
Oh, and YouTube's changed now.
And YouTube has changed.
So when you click, I don't know whether obviously people listening to this on YouTube. I'm sure many people will be watching this on Podomatic.
Yeah.
But some of you may be listening on YouTube.
Yeah.
And if you're YouTubers, you may know that there's a go live and upload video button when you go up on YouTube. And I thought, this is going to make it easy. And if some of you saw for a couple of minutes, there was a thing up, like a 1 second to 7 seconds video.
A video of you looking confused.
Yeah, because I thought, we've got to do this. But there was no way of turning the sound off. So that was a bit confusing. But well, I just wanted to say welcome to the show if you haven't been here before.
Yeah.
And enjoy the next, 50 minutes to an hour, because we've already rambled on for a few minutes about what's coming up on the show.
Indeed, we have. Usually about now, when things aren't quite as chaotic as they are today, we usually talk a little bit at the beginning of each show as to what we've both been doing, whether who related or otherwise. And this week, probably quite a lot for you, really, isn't it?
Busy week, yeah. It's been my birthday this week, so it's been a very chaotic week, but it's been quite a fun one.
But what everybody wants to know is who related merchandise did you get for your birthday?
Quite a few bits of merch, starting off with a few DVDs. Twice Upon a Time.
Yep.
Did you know I had that?
I thought you probably would. But...
Yes. Twice Upon a Time is on my way. It was released last week, I think. I've already rewatched it, but no, I don't mean I've already watched it on the DVD, but I mean we already rewatched it a couple of weeks ago to remind us before our review. But it's great to have that, I think.
Yeah. Any good extras on it?
Yeah, there are some good extras, I think. There's a Doctor Who extra, which I don't know what that is now, whether it's just a load of disjointed clips joined together, which aren't meant to be together, or whether it's different clips than the ones they've got on YouTube, which I haven't watched them either way. So
it'd be interesting, because there was a lot of criticism, wasn't there, over the box set for the series. It'd be interesting to see whether this is similarly crazy or not.
What do you mean a lot?
Well, a lot of people moaned about the actual the Series 10 box set.
Yes.
The price for it and what you got on it for that price.
Oh, yes.
So
I think there were quite a good amount of special features. However, it looks like a good amount, but most of that was fan show and stuff. So it was stuff that you could get on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a bit pointless, really.
Albeit that I guess one of the big differences being that who knows whether the YouTube stuff will stay on there forever, whereas your DVD will. So it's a way of keeping things.
Yes. Unless it gets robbed or destroyed.
Exactly.
Yes.
So aside from Twice Upon a Time, what other merch did you get?
Staying on the DVD side of things, in Doctor Who wise, Mr. D Cool here purchased a couple of DVDs for me. Purchased the Rescue and the Romans set, which is likely we've not had either story come up on the randomizer, have we? No. We might have done, but we didn't.
We could have done today, couldn't we? We could have pretended.
Yeah, we didn't have any access towards Rescue or the Romans, because I've watched them before, both of them, but we didn't have them on DVD. So even if they had popped up, which I think the Rescue has, but I don't think the Romans has, we didn't have any way of getting hold of it. But now, anytime over the next few years, the Rescue and the Romans could be reviewed. But a really good set of fun, exciting new adventures with new companion Vicky, who's the first new companion who's been introduced in an episode which wasn't the first episode.
Right, okay.
Vicky Ballastar. The Crotons as well.
Yeah. Which is one I'm looking forward to watching again one day.
Me too.
Well, we talked about it last week, I think, didn't we? On the show.
It's one, or we just discussed it with each other.
Yeah, can't remember now.
It's one I'd really like to watch again, because I have faint memories of it.
Yeah.
All I remember is the Crotons being in it, and I remember Jamie being tested by them because Zoe being tested by them.
Yes, I remember that. Smart. And I think they had a lot of slaves doing a lot of the work for them, didn't they?
Yeah, I remember there were people who came into the Citadel, like the Crotons' kingdom, and that was like an honour or something, but they never came back. Yeah,
no, I have fond memories of the Crotons.
Yeah, it was one of the first we watched.
It was the first Patrick Troughton one we watched together, I think.
It was, yeah.
So, yeah.
The first one we downloaded to watch, I think. Mask of Mandragora was the first classic Who one I watched, I think.
Yeah.
Don't know why, but
so aside from that, what other Doctor Who merch?
I got a really cool book, which was 100 Illustrated Adventures.
Yeah, in fact, you nearly had it twice.
I nearly had it twice. Doctor Who 100 Illustrated Adventures. We might have discussed it a few months ago, actually, on the podcast. Did we?
Maybe.
It's a book which collects a bunch of artwork for 100 stories of Doctor Who. And there's stuff from really professional, sort of really intricate and well prepared, like really long time taking pieces. And then there's also really like childish pieces. So it's really great because there's different styles of artwork covering every story. And I think that was a fantastic idea. Anything that's been produced by fans, I think is always quite brilliant.
Definitely, yeah.
Trying
to think what else you got now.
Yes,
did you get anything else Who related? I think that's all that I got you Who related with the first two things.
Yes.
I'm sure you probably did. Or maybe not, actually.
Yeah, I don't think I did.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What have you been watching?
Not much in Who related. What have I been watching? I did get the James Bond complete collection this week. So I got all of the movies, all 24 movies, and I started watching Doctor No this week. Doctor No is an interesting movie, and obviously it was the one that kicked off the franchise. But I'm really looking forward to continue watching it tonight. It's got some rather interesting things in it. I don't know whether so far I can say it's going to be one of the best ones, but it's certainly very enjoyable.
Yeah, indeed.
Like all the Bonds is.
Yeah,
perfect.
Certainly the early ones are really good.
Yeah,
and the latter day ones are very good as well. So.
Yes. Do you mean the Daniel Craig ones?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. I think Sean Connery, Roger Moore eras both really strong.
Yes.
Certainly most of Roger Moore's anyway. Then it goes a few lean years maybe until we then get the kickstart with the Daniel Craig series.
Yes, indeed. But, on the other side of things, quite a few pieces of merch and stuff on other things of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I won't really comment on those because this is a Doctor Who podcast, obviously.
Yeah.
Lots of merch to go with the James Bond selection.
So I got a few of these Funko Pop heads.
A few of those Funko Pop heads, two fantastic ones actually, which were the Sean Connery pop and the Odd Job one.
Yeah.
Odd Job is my favourite henchman, and Sean Connery's great.
And there we have it.
Yeah. So yeah. Other than that, I haven't been watching any more of my Series 10 box sets, but I've got a week off shortly, so I should be able to continue with those with Oxygen.
In fact, you must have a real bumper collection of things to watch at the moment.
I have got a
because you've got a lot of the things you had at Christmas as well, I think.
I have, yeah. I've got a hell of a lot to watch. I've got Sharda to continue. Yeah. I've got Planet of Giants, all the Doctor Who stuff.
Yeah.
So fun. Yeah. I finished Planet of the Apes last week.
Yeah.
Which was highly enjoyable.
Good.
I haven't watched that before, and neither has Deco. But I'd recommend watching that, Dr. Core.
I'll get around to it one day.
Yes.
And I haven't carried on watching Sherlock yet, or anything. Yes. I mean,
have you done anything this week?
Not really anything to report. I watched Groundhog Day again last night. It's always a good film, but
because it was Groundhog Day.
Was indeed, yeah.
Yeah, happy Groundhog Day yesterday.
And also, I mean, it was quite a sunny day, which actually probably means, therefore, we've got a long winter still to come.
Really?
So
that's what it means.
Because it can see shadow.
Elected.
Really?
Yes, she was.
Well, should we? So that's probably enough of us.
I think so. Yeah. I was about to click the stop broadcast button then because I thought, that's what we usually do.
Yeah, that's it. Because it's different when we do these live.
But it's quite fun doing these live ones because we can't possibly edit anything out, so it's always quite fun. And apologies if the sound's a bit crap, but it should be quite decent, I think.
I think it probably should. So. Should we move on to the next section?
Yeah, yes, we should.
What is it?
It's the news. Yes, the news. The news is a part of the show, which we do every week. And it will be quite hard to find some news this week. Let me just type it.
Hard for a couple of reasons. Firstly, there isn't that much, and also because where we are in a different setup than normal, you're making it up as you go along. We're not making it up as we go along, but trying to find news off the internet as we go along.
Yeah, so which I'm always trying to do, because it's always quite a kerfuffle to try and find stuff. So let's see. This week we've got a few bits of news. Very, very light week of news this week. Possibly one of the lightest weeks of newsial things ever.
Yeah.
It's the lead up to Series 11 at the moment. We've still got up until roughly August to October to wait until Series 11 begins. So this autumn at some point. Which means we've got to fill up the news for a few weeks,
just random
few
blurb.
months.
Random blurb for a bit.
With random blurb, meaning we have to do a really long description every week describing how long we have to wait until Series 11 of Doctor Who begins this autumn at some point, which we blabber on for quite a while for.
So what do we have by way of news this week?
So, with months to go till we meet her properly, it's fair to say that any information about Jodie Whittaker's new Time Lord is being eagerly guzzled by Doctor Who fans. So we're pretty excited by a new character description released by the BBC yesterday that gives us our first sense of the 13th Doctor's personality.
Ooh.
So here's the description. Doctor Who, 9 times 50 and 1 times 65. I know what that means, but do you?
Nope, no idea.
No, so 9 50-minute episodes and 1 65-minute episodes. Already highly anticipated, Series 11 heralds a brand new era for Doctor Who, with a world-class team at the helm. Incoming lead writer Chris Chibnall has a fresh and inclusive vision for the series. Bigger and bolder than ever, this series marks the arrival of Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor, a super smart force of nature, alongside a team of new and delightful characters. This show will be full of action and adventure, humour and thrills, an unmissable high-end drama that everyone will enjoy. So, what are your thoughts of this description? So, first of all, well, we've got a few exciting adjectives which describe the new series. Let's talk about the description as a whole.
Well, I'll tell you what I was thinking is that whilst you were reading it off of the webpage, whichever webpage it is.
Radio Times.
Radio Times.
My favourite website for Doctor Who McGuffle.
There was a picture of Jodie in her new Who outfit, which I was very lukewarm about. But actually, the more I see that picture, it's warmed on me.
Yes, indeed.
Look at the costume.
Yeah, she looks. I think she looks good.
Yeah, it's still a little bit play schooly.
It is, yeah.
But
it's gelled to us because we've seen it so many times.
Exactly.
I think.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, just quickly discussing, what other costumes would you be like that for in Doctor Who?
Well, I mean, this is probably an interesting way to get onto the Twitter poll that you did, actually.
What Twitter poll?
Well, not a Twitter poll, sorry, discussion, wasn't it, around costumes?
Yeah, why would we discuss that today?
I'm just thinking that as we were talking about costumes, you might
I can't access that.
Oh, you can't access it. No, that's true.
No.
Okay. You'll probably talk about that next week.
I will probably.
Yeah.
But
there was something we were going to come on to, wasn't
it? Yes,
I
know what that is.
I'll leave that to you then.
We'll discuss that after the news is finished.
Okay.
I think you were getting them confused. Yes.
Yeah. Twice you've humiliated me on one show.
Sorry. So here we go. The 13th Doctor, a super smart force of nature. So there's a bit of a description of her personality.
Yeah.
What do you think the 13th Doctor will be like, and what do you think this means for her personality?
It's so difficult to tell, isn't it? I think the Doctor's always intelligent.
Yes.
I mean, you could use that description to describe any single one of the Doctors, really.
Yes, indeed.
So I don't know. I really think it doesn't really add anything new, if I'm being completely honest.
No, it doesn't. And it says a team of new delightful characters. Obviously, that's Bradley Walsh, Tosin Cole, and Mandeep Gill, as well as Sharon Dolores Clark, who shall be playing in a new bit of information this week, Mary, who shall be featuring in at least episodes 1 and 7 of the series.
I find that bit of news a bit more exciting, actually. To me, I'm intrigued by what sort of dynamic we get with the new companion base.
Me too. Yeah. How do you think it will work? Do you think they'll all be in it at the same time, or do you think it will go that sometimes 2 of them will go on an adventure and then sometimes other ones will go on an adventure?
I reckon there'll be a core.
Yeah.
I think we'll always have, say, for instance, Bradley Walsh in it.
Yeah.
And then the other ones may flit about.
Yeah.
But I don't know, until we really find out a little bit more about them and how they're all entwined, it's difficult to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Will it be a little bit more like what we saw with Amy and Rory, where Amy was obviously the core companion, but Rory was, particularly as the series went on, became more and more. Yeah.
So it's some very interesting news, I think, about Sharon D. Clark.
Yeah.
We don't want to spoil something that we've learned this week.
Oh, I haven't learned anything about.
You know, about what happens to her. We've got an exclusive, but we're not gonna spoil something because we're not a spoiler podcast. Okay. Apart from that time when we accidentally spoiled that Davros was in The Magician's Apprentice.
Did we?
You know that thing about the returning character and what that means. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, that thing. Yeah.
I told you. Yeah.
I don't think it was Davros that we spoiled, was it? It was the thing we spoiled by accident was Matt Smith appearing in.
Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Because I think the Davros thing I didn't find out until just before it started.
Yeah, no, that was annoying.
It was a bit annoying, yeah.
Yeah.
There we have it.
Good news, everyone. We're getting even more Doctor Who than we thought this year. It's been revealed that Jodie Whittaker's very first episode in the BBC Sci-Fi series will be a whopping 65 minutes long, properly introducing the 13th Doctor and her TARDIS team, played by Bradley Walsh, Mandeep Gill and Tosin Cole, before reverting to a shorter 50-minute format for the series' 9 subsequent installments. So,
that still doesn't add up to the amount that the BBC was saying it a while ago.
Yeah, last week or the week before we had a bit of news which said that we'd have 11 hours of new content for Series 11.
Unless they're including within that things like the fan show.
Yeah, that's what they said on Radio Times.
Okay, because it could be that, couldn't it?
It could
be. Other related.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. Not that the fan show's guff. I quite
enjoy
it. But
I enjoy the fan show, but do you think it will continue?
I think they'll have something, whether it's the fan show in its current format, I don't know. But
I don't know whether Crystal D will still host it. I mean, she's left 5 Who fans, but we don't know whether she'll still host it for the new era or whether there'll be a new host that comes in.
No, I'd imagine I think she's done very well, hasn't she, in that?
She has, yeah.
That move to actual proper television. So I think there's probably a place for her somewhere.
There could be. I think she'll be involved in the new fan show, but whether she remains the presenter or whether she goes on to do some other things in Doctor Who or in the BBC,
maybe.
It remains to be seen. But the episode running time was unveiled yesterday as part of a listing for the BBC Worldwide Showcase in Liverpool later this month, which Jodie Whittaker shall be attending, which means you'll get some more news from there in a couple of weeks. But if you're wondering why some of this sounds familiar, it's because we did know for a while that the series premiere would be longer than the rest of Series 11. However, the initial announcement suggested that the episode would be a feature-length hour, so that's a whole extra 5 minutes than we're getting. Think that doesn't sound very long? Well then, I guess you're not a fan of these classic modern Doctor Who sequences, all of which clock in at under 5 minutes apiece, which are the Doctor and Rose say goodbye, the 11th Doctor regenerates, the Doctor save Gallifrey, the Doctor's speech in Zygon Inversion, and breaking the wall in Heaven's End.
Yeah.
Yep, in Doctor Who terms, 5 minutes is a lot longer than you'd think. And with all the new and exciting adventures coming this autumn, we'll take every extra second we can get. So, interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Are you excited for season 11?
Yeah, I think I am actually. I think it's. I loved Capaldi, but it's always nice to see something fresh and new.
It is, yeah. So, earlier this month, there was a new. Well, earlier last month even, there was a new fan-made audio. With which well, Radio Times pointed out an excellent Ninth Doctor impressionist from comedian who was comedian Peter Walsh. Well, for those of you who enjoyed it, here's a real gem, an entire fan-made audio story featuring Peter's Christopher Eccleston's Northern Doctor, as well as Jonathan Carley doing an impressive impersonation of Peter Capaldi's Scott's 12th Doctor. And judging by the comments posted against it, Doctor Who fans are loving it. So it's called Exhausted Supplies, and it does see... it's a 2-part audio adventure featuring some voice artists, Pete Walsh and Jonathan Carley, taking on Christopher Eccleston and Peter Capaldi. Here's some reactions. So, oh man, this is so cool. The story is gripping. I'll never get over how much close the voices actually sound like 9 and 12. The Ninth Doctor voice is amazing, and oh my god, I've just been addicted with this audio story. And it's even my first time hearing this kind of audio. And it's fan-made. This is so cool.
Cool.
And it's canon for me too, just like everyone commented in this video. So some interesting stuff there. You can find that on YouTube. I might have a listen to it.
It sounds interesting, doesn't it?
It does sound interesting. So if you want to get that, then you obviously can.
Cool.
The actor Jeremy Wilkin has sadly passed on at the age of 87. So Jeremy Wilkin played Professor Kelman in the 1975 Doctor Who television story Revenge of the Cybermen even. He was best known for his extensive work with Gerry Anderson, providing the voice for many characters, including Virgil Tracy in Thunderbirds, the Captain Ork and Captain Black and Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, and many characters in the series Joe 90 and the Secret Service. As well as his appearance in Doctor Who, he had a memorable appearance in the first episode of Blake 7, playing Dev Tarrant, the man who betrayed Blake. In the 1980s, he appeared as Nat Kinsley in the BBC series County Hall, as well as roles in Riley, Ace of Spades, the Secret Army spin-off Kessler, and in the Yorkshire TV series Number 10. Jeremy Wilkin died on 19th of December 2017.
Yeah. I remember him really well in Blake 7 in that role.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a cracking story. I hadn't recognised him, but
yeah, so R.I.P. to Jeremy Wilkin.
Any more news?
I think that's about it.
Okay.
For the news. Have we got a little discussion?
A little discussion?
The thing that we posted on Twitter.
Oh yeah, what was that about again? Yeah.
So, on Twitter we posted a little poll, which was quite an interesting one that we thought we'd discuss, but we're not going to do it as our main feature. Do you think we should do it as a main feature at some point?
I think we probably talked about it a fair bit on the show anyway.
Let's just comment.
So it'd just be interesting to, as you did have it as a tweet thing.
Yeah. So as the news is light, let's have a little bit of an extra discussion. This week I posted a little poll.
Yeah.
And that was: should Doctor Who always stay on the BBC, or should it change to some kind of streaming service or go to another channel?
Okay.
88% of people said it should go to stay on the BBC.
Yeah.
Or at least the last time I checked. And 12% of people said it should go to another streaming service or another channel.
And I probably agree with that. In that, I mean, my own views on it are: I believe it should stay with the BBC, but I think it's quite disappointing at times the way that the BBC treats the programme.
The advertising has been awful. Not necessarily with Series 10, because the advertising was okay, at least for the first part of it.
Yeah.
Because they seem to show the trailers a lot. And everything.
Yeah.
But things like Series 8, Series 9, and Class and stuff.
Class in particular. I mean, let's not go there again, because we talked enough about how poorly promoted Class was.
We decided not to discuss Class after episode 200.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
But so whilst I believe that the BBC is the right place for it to be, I think that's only really because it's always been on the BBC. If we look at the way that use Netflix as an example, because it's the one I'm probably most au fait with. If we look at the way that the Netflix have treated the Marvel universe, for instance,
with Daredevil and Jessica Jones, etc.
It's been fantastic, and they've made it really gritty. They've added a completely different edge to it than what certainly the Marvel films ever had. I mean, I've not seen Stranger Things, but I know you've been suitably impressed with
Stranger
that.
Things is brilliant. Yeah.
So I think there's no doubting that Netflix, as an example, would give it more love.
Yes. I mean,
let's face it, it would be really big, wouldn't it?
It would be fantastic. Yeah.
But
do you mean it would be really big in terms of it would be massive when it came in, or do you mean it's because it's an old show?
For Netflix, it would be huge.
Yeah.
It would be a really big show for them to get.
Probably be its biggest sort of show.
But of course, the downside of it would be that it would alienate quite a number of people in this country, because not everybody has Netflix, albeit that quite a high proportion of the population do now. What
would be your opinion of it going on to a channel with adverts?
I wouldn't want that.
No,
wouldn't want that at all. Although our American friends obviously have that all the time, because I think BBC America does have adverts.
So people do have to face it.
I think, yeah.
People do have to.
Yeah, so in the end, you do get it. I guess I'm used to it in terms of things like Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead, which always have adverts in.
Yes, indeed.
But it's not. We're not used to it.
We're not. No. I would agree.
So, was there anything else you wanted to add to that? I mean, that was the key thing I thought. I thought it was an interesting poll to have. It's an interesting result.
Yeah. I would agree that the BBC haven't given the show as much love as it deserves, perhaps, over the last few years. But as much as I think a streaming service would be fantastic for the show, it belongs on the BBC. It's always been on the BBC. And it's available to pretty much everyone, as long as you have a television, or even if you have something to view iPlayer on.
In this country, anyway.
Yeah, in a television license or something, if you're listening in the UK, obviously. And you can just watch it.
So. Yeah. Oh my God! What would the world be coming to if we lost Doctor Who? It'd be like losing the Bake Off.
I know.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, and Channel 4. Well, Channel 4 did do justice to the Bake Off.
Yeah.
I suppose. I didn't even watch the New Year's episode.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, should we crack on then with our main item?
Yes, let's crack on with our main item, which is Avoid Who. I planned this feature a little while ago, and this was Avoid Who. From each Doctor, we're going to go through them from Hartnell to Capaldi, and we're going to reveal our choices for the episode that you should avoid from each Doctor.
Okay.
Throughout their era.
It'd be interesting to do a positive version of this at some point.
We should do.
We haven't done that before, have we?
Haven't we?
Maybe we have.
We've done. The reason I did this, we did Pivotal Who, I remember.
Yeah.
Ones that you should watch. Yes, we did. We did recommend Who.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we like to do these little things sometimes.
Yeah.
Avoid Who then.
The reason I forget is that quite often, saddos that we are, we'll be sat on the bus or something, and we have these sorts of conversations. So sometimes it's difficult to remember what we've done on the podcast and what we haven't.
True. Yeah.
So, who to avoid?
Yes. Okay. William Hartnell. So, do you have any choices for William Hartnell? Or
I've probably not seen enough of them to be able to comment on the ones to avoid.
Yeah. So you've seen.
So the ones I've seen, I've enjoyed.
The Unearthly Child, The Edge of Destruction.
Yeah.
Sensorites.
Yeah. Perhaps the closest to me would be the middle two parts of An Unearthly Child, but even then, I wouldn't say that I'd tell people to avoid them. They're just not as interesting as the first and final part.
Definitely not as interesting as the first.
Yeah.
I'd say for the first Doctor, William Hartnell, I'd have to say the Gunfighters.
Yeah,
I loathe the Gunfighters.
Yeah.
It's even worse than the Web bloody Planet, because the Web Planet has the Zarbi, and that's about it. They're bloody annoying. But the Gunfighters has all that singing and that talking and just everything's narrated by the singing, and it's not a good episode at all. Peter Purvis is in it, but that's not enough to save it. But the Gunfighters is a really, although it's quite unique from any other story, it tried to do something different and take maybe the historical stories in a different approach. It was a really uninteresting one. And as you know, I don't really like the majority of the William Hartnell historical episodes.
See, it'll be interesting when I watch it, because I do love cowboy things, albeit that I like the spaghetti western style cowboy things, not so much the old school American ones.
Yes.
And this was obviously far more aligned to the old school American westerns.
Indeed.
So moving on to Troughton then.
Patrick Troughton, I'm going to have to say the Dominators. Did you know I was going to say that?
I did guess you would say the Dominators. I've not seen it. And again, it's difficult for me to comment too much on the Patrick Troughton ones, because I've liked the ones I've seen.
It's boring, dull, rushed, irritating, and rubbish. 5 words which you don't want in any Doctor Who story, which frankly isn't like it isn't like atrocious. It isn't like atrocious on Paradise Towers level, but it's really bad, like worse than Ribos Operation.
Right.
Just really throwaway and dull and boring and rubbish and crap. So I'd have to say that is my story which I'd recommend to avoid from the Patrick Troughton era of Doctor Who.
Okay.
What about you, out of the ones you've seen?
I like the look of the Dominators. I think the pictures that accompany it, it looks like an episode that's going to be quite good. But I know it's usually quite low in the rating.
It is, yes.
I honestly can't add anything to it on this one.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've really liked all of the Patrick Troughton stuff.
John Pertwee ones.
But now that is difficult, because again,
it's my favourite era because it's the most consistent.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how uninteresting my contribution to this discussion has been so far.
I know,
but I'm struggling with John Pertwee.
John Pertwee is just so hard. Because this doesn't have to be necessarily the worst. It just has to be the one that you'd say to avoid.
Yeah.
So I'd say maybe maybe Monster of Peladon. Don't know. It's not that bad.
So I love the first Peladon one.
Yeah, it's just not as good as the first one. It's a disappointment.
I don't know. I'll leave that to you. We'll stick with that one if you like.
Yeah, Monster of Peladon.
But let's face it, people would be wrong to avoid any John Pertwee.
I wouldn't want you to avoid any John Pertwee story. They're like movies. They're very enjoyable. You can just stick them on and sit down and enjoy them, I think. I love the John Pertwee era. If
we move on to Tom Baker, probably, in my opinion, the finest Doctor we've ever had.
Yeah, but his later era wasn't that good, and I think we can both pick one to avoid.
I know certainly which one I would pick, and I'd imagine you've already referenced it once, and I would imagine, therefore, we're going to agree on this one.
Do you want to say it at the same time?
Yeah.
The Ribos Operation. Yes, so why do you think, as your contribution has been quite dull so far, you can describe why it's the story from Tom Baker's era that you'd most like to people to avoid?
Okay, I mean, it starts off really good, doesn't it? In that you get to meet Romana for the first time. It's part of the Keep Time stories, isn't it?
Yes.
It's, I don't know. I think we'd probably be out on our own on this one, but I don't think a lot of people would agree, because it's actually not an unpopular episode, is it?
No.
But I think we both struggled with it. in that it just, I don't know, it was just a little bit dull, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very.
There were bits that were enjoyable.
Yes, like
was,
the beginning was fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. The co-stars in it, from memory, were a bit annoying as well.
It's just one of the most dull things I've ever sat through in my life.
Yeah.
And I've sat through a lot of dull, boring things in my life so far. But yeah, it's just uninteresting and probably an unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
Fifth Doctor Peter Davison. Avoid who? So I'm going to say, I mean, there's a few. This is a really dull era of Doctor Who. Very meh.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's outright dull, but it's a little bit bland.
Yeah,
so I think it's probably.
Isn't it the same thing?
It needs a little bit. It needs a little bit of. It's like if you were to have a meal and you forgot to put salt and pepper in it.
Yes.
It's that sort of thing, I reckon.
Yes, indeed. Even though you wouldn't want salt and pepper on all the meals. I'm gonna say. Ooh, my avoid who choice for this one is going to be the King's Demons, I think.
Okay.
So I don't like the King's. Oh, no, I've got one. Time Flight.
Okay.
Now, Time Flight is the final story of the first Peter Davison series. You have Earthshock, which is such a typical finale episode, which is fantastic. Yeah. And then you go into that, and it's such a disappointment. And a rubbish episode and lets down the master. It's just stupid.
I mean, I've not seen that one.
You've seen part of it.
Have I?
Don't
remember.
Seen the first part.
Have I? I don't remember that. Definitely, it must be planned. I did find last week's story that we watched, Castrovalva. I found that quite dull, and I would tell people to avoid that.
Yes, would you? But it is the first story of.
Yeah, but up until the last quarter of the entire story, I found that quite hard going to watch.
Colin Baker then. So there's a few atrocious stories in this. Well, not atrocious. There's a couple of really not very good stories.
Yeah.
I'm going to say for this one, Colin Baker's first story, Twin Dilemma. It may spoil Doctor Who forever for you. And if you think, oh, there's a new Doctor, I'm so excited for this. Yes. You go into it, and well, I won't tell you too much, but Twin Dilemma is perhaps one of the worst stories of Doctor Who history.
Yeah, it seems it's in fact, if you take the last Dawn poll, it is ranked as the worst.
I don't think it's the worst. I think there's at least two other stories which are worse, which we'll be discussing in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colin Baker. I think the thing is with Colin Baker is I've not seen all of the episodes yet because we're only so many of them come up on the randomizer. And I think I've probably seen some of the better ones.
Yeah.
So
well,
because I mean, probably in paper the worst one would probably be the Rani one, but I actually really like that one.
Yeah,
it's got some really funny.
What about
funny
Time
bits.
Lash?
I really liked Time Lash.
Yeah,
I liked it. Well, no, not really liked it.
It was okay.
I enjoyed that far more than even when we saw Paul Darrow in one of the conventions, even he said to avoid Time Lash, didn't he? When he was in it, but there were bits that were crap in it. Perhaps I will say Time Lash.
Time Lash, yeah.
Just because it was
like the H.G. Wells thing.
Yeah, I will say that, but I didn't not enjoy it.
Yeah. The ending's awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sylvester McCoy. Now, this is an atrocious era.
I was going to say, I'm going to say one to avoid it.
Yes.
The Sylvester McCoy era.
Yes, that is avoidable. There's no stories. Well, there's a couple of stories in here which are good, but most of the stories, let's face it, over half of the stories from the Sylvester McCoy era I should avoid, to be honest. And
yeah, it's the feel of the whole era. I mean, we watched the good one, Curse of Fenric, and I didn't even enjoy that much, if I'm being honest. Just because, which was nothing to do with Paul Sylvester, because I actually like Sylvester McCoy. I like Sylvester McCoy's Doctor, but I found the way that everything was handled in terms of production and style, even with the Curse of Fenric, I found hard going.
Yes, it was.
Found it very irritating. Of course, the winner, though, based on the ones I've seen, would have to be Paradise Towers.
It's awful.
Is the worst Doctor Who episode I've ever watched.
Same, I would agree. The worst Doctor Who story ever, probably by far. There are some awful ones.
Yeah,
but...
that is really bad. I have this feeling that Downton and the Bannerman, when we get around to watching that one horrible day, maybe worse, based on some of the clips I've seen. I don't think it would
be worse. Nothing could be worse than Paradise Towers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty stinky era.
It's a pretty time in the Rani as well. That's one of the ones even worse than Twin Dilemma. Almost as bad, if not just as bad as Paradise Towers. Wait until you get to that one. It's awful as well.
The thing, it makes you realise it, doesn't it? Going back to that period, there were some pretty stinker episodes in terms of New Doctor ones. You know, you think of it now as the first episode with the New Doctor is always quite explosive. It's quite a big thing.
It is.
Whereas you look at it back then, you had Castrovalva, not particularly great. You had Twin Dilemma, which is much maligned, and then Time of the Rani. You know, that's
which is awful.
Pretty poor dues, really.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Paul McGann. Can't really talk about that.
Skip that one. Apart from Big Finish stuff, which I haven't really listened to any bad Big Finishes with him.
Yeah. I saw him in Holby City the other day.
Did you?
Instantly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I knew.
That's his latest thing.
Yes, Christopher Eccleston. Then Christopher Eccleston one's quite a hard one because I think Series 1's a really good series.
It is. Yeah, there's not too much to fault in it at all, is there?
Probably my favourite of New Who. I'm gonna say though Boomtown because I don't really like Boomtown. It's okay, it's fine, it's meh, but it's just the worst one of the era. So I wouldn't necessarily say avoid it, but it's the one that I'd say I'd least recommend to you. So.
Yeah, I'd probably join you on that one. Although it's the big finale, I'm not particularly keen on the big finale from this series.
I don't mind it
because I think it's very time bound with all the quiz show stuff.
Do you like the final part of it?
Not hugely, actually.
I mean, the first part's the quiz show, and then it goes off into the Dalek thing.
Yeah, not hugely. Not a big fan.
Really?
Yeah, so I might go for that actually.
Interesting. David Tennant. There are some crap ones here, but there's one which stands out.
Yep. I can't remember the name. Fear Her. Yeah.
Fear Her.
The scribble monster.
I hate Fear Her.
Yeah, so do I.
It's just awful, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the closest episode in the history of Who to Paradise Towers rubbishness, in my opinion.
God, yeah. I would agree. It's either second or third worst episode of Doctor Who history.
Yeah.
Can't get much worse than this. So I would say by far avoid this episode. The Tennant era is always quite a popular one. So if you're someone new to the show, say I'd say the David Tennant era is a perfect one to watch because it'll probably get you into it. But you know,
I would think this is probably, even judging on the story I'm going to talk about for 12th Doctor, for me, I think Fear Her is probably the worst New Who story.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Smith, then.
Okay.
I'm going to say Curse of the Black Star.
So am I.
It's so boring and not very good, is it?
I enjoyed it even less when we watched it. I mean, you'd seen it a few times. I watched it for the second time running when it came up on the randomizer probably a year or so ago.
Oh yeah, it was about January,
yeah. Okay, and I really didn't enjoy it at all.
No, it was appalling.
Yeah,
to be honest, dreadful.
Yeah, really bad, really boring. I quite like the concept of the siren.
Yeah,
and I like it when
it's not necessarily an original thing though. It's based on other things.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. I quite like it when they use some of that sort of folklore type stuff in Who. I think it's quite good, but it just felt shoddy, didn't it? It was a bit corny, and not a big fan.
Yeah, no. Peter Capaldi.
Capaldi. to be honest, I love Capaldi's era, as we know. But actually, there are a handful, actually,
there's a handful
of stinkers.
Yeah, there's some awful ones. Honourable mentions are In the Forest of the Night, Robot of Sherwood, Extremis. But the big one is...
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, for me...
Have we got...
For me,
I think
actually, is this the first time we've got a different one?
Yeah.
It might be out of all the doctors.
Ahoy too.
I don't know. You've already mentioned them on me. I struggle. Sure? I struggle with Extremis so badly.
Really? Yeah. There is so much that annoys me about it, but I don't know. I don't think it's the worst. I think there's some stuff that saves it, unlike my story,
which is
Sleep No More. I hate Sleep No More.
Yeah.
It's an awful story. It tried to do something different, and I appreciate that, but there's so many flaws with it that I loathe it.
It's not so much. There are flaws with it, but it's not so much the story, the really shoddy character play which we've got in it. It's just the way it's filmed just really jars with my brain, and I struggle to watch it. It just made my senses hurt.
Congratulations to Mark Gatiss and the director. I can't remember his name. It wasn't Daniel Nettian, but I can't remember who it was. Congratulations for trying something different with your camera work, but it didn't work.
It didn't work.
Gave us all a migraine.
Thank you for giving us something which was virtually unwatchable.
You'll know Rachel Tallahay
So that brings us to the end, Dr. White. Obviously, who knows what the worst episode for the next Doctor will be.
Do you think Jodie's era will be good? Or?
There's bound to be some shoddy things, isn't there?
Yeah, there's always shoddy things.
And there's things that don't seem shoddy at the time that when you watch it later aren't as good as you remember them.
True, yeah.
But, yeah, that was good discussion, that.
It was a good
I'm always sort of... There's something that always seems a little bit sad about focusing in on the bad parts of anything.
But we often discuss the good things, and next week's feature will be a good thing to celebrate the 250th show.
Excellent.
So we'll hear that later on.
So shall we move on to the next item, which is
our review of the 11th Hour. Last week, the randomizer picked out for us a New Who episode, and it was the second post-regenerative episode that we've got in a row. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, it often does that, the randomizers, doesn't it? Since it is completely random, it does actually quite often feel as if it sets something up for us.
It does, yeah. So this was the 11th Hour, the first Matt Smith story of Doctor Who.
Yep.
Deco's going to supply us a little bit of a synopsis before we go into discussing what we thought of the episode.
Okay, so as we mentioned, it's the 11th Doctor's first episode, so he's only just regenerated. It picks up really where the finale of David Tennant's era started, with the Doctor plummeting with his TARDIS. It crash lands into a garden, and actually it's the garden of one Amelia Pond, a little young girl who will become very familiar to us over the course of this particular era. So the Doctor and this young girl are chatting for a while. She's informing him that there's a crack in the wall in her bedroom. The Doctor investigates, and we get this message telling us that Prisoner Zero has escaped. Then the bells, what do you call the bells? For the TARDIS start ringing. To bounce on back because it's just about to explode, I think.
Yeah.
And he says he'll be back in 5 minutes. He returns about 12 years later to find that Amelia Pond has grown up into a Amy Pond, and from here on we discover that the room, the house that she's been living in all this time, is actually housing this Prisoner Zero. He's used some form of some sort of like visual filter to hide this room he's staying in. But he's also he's using the image of paralyzed victims to actually walk around on the Earth. So does that give us enough really?
It does,
as a story.
Yeah.
And basically, I guess the prisoners being hunted by the Atraxi,
Yes.
who are threatening to blow up the Earth unless Prisoner Zero is handed over. So the Doctor's got about 20 minutes to be able to solve everything. That's it.
Yes,
I think that's probably enough as a bit of an intro. What do you think to this? It's a lot of people's favourites, or one of their favourites, certainly in terms of first episodes for a new Doctor.
I think it's a solid story. I think it's the perfect story to introduce you to Doctor Who, and it shows what's so great about Doctor Who, and it's a perfect one to introduce the Matt Smith era and the Stephen Moffat era.
Yeah.
It's one of the best from Series 5, I think, but Series 5 is quite a good series. It's got some rough ones, but it's got some really good ones as well. It's quite a consistent one.
Yeah.
Which I like consistency in my series. I think it is overrated, yes.
Yeah.
But there's not many problems with it, and it's going to be hard when it comes to the bad section, I think. It's very light on story, isn't it? But
yeah, it doesn't really need a significant.
It doesn't need. That's what I was going to say. It focuses on the regeneration a lot, and it's got some really good stuff from Matt Smith. So
yeah,
it's great to see Matt Smith in his first role.
Yeah, it's funny actually, because this is only the second time I've watched it. First time round, I thought it was a bit overrated.
Yeah.
This time round, I'm not sure it was actually. I think it is a very solid opening one. But perhaps
it's not 20th best story ever.
No, certainly not. Was that where it comes
top
out?
100.
That's where it comes in the Dawn
It's like
poll
18th or something.
Okay. But like with any episode, there's some things which are good and some things that are bad, or as we like to say on this show,
too good, too bad.
So this is the part of the show where we look at two good things about a particular episode. We look at two bad things about a particular episode, one apiece. Or discussion, because some things are too good and some things are too bad.
Yeah.
So too good for the 11th hour. What do you think is the strongest part?
I'm going to say the post-regenerative stuff.
Yeah.
I think Matt Smith and Karen Gillan, not Karen Gillan. I really like the opening of this episode.
Yeah.
So when the Doctor crashes in young Amelia's backyard, I think we get some really eccentric stuff from Matt Smith. I think he showcases this madness of the Doctor really well in this episode. And
that's a madness that we're going to see really throughout the whole of Matt Smith's era, isn't it? Because he's very quirky.
Isn't always a positive thing.
No.
But as we review, I mean, when we complete a Doctor, we should probably do a summary of them on the randomizer. But I don't think we've completed any Doctors so far, have we? So,
not yet.
When we do, we'll do a summary of that Doctor. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a solid intro, which introduces the Doctor and Amelia really well, and shows us what the 11th Doctor is going to be like in a fantastic way, and introduces both new fans and fans who are new to this new format of the show to the show of this episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I was also going to say that very same thing.
Were you?
Which means I've got to go for my other two good thing, which is the very shallow. I like Amy in her kissogram police costume, which I was going to save myself the embarrassment of saying by talking about the intro sequence. But as you've already name checked that one,
third time of embarrassing you in the episode.
Yeah, exactly, that's right. So that's what I'm going to go for. Amy is a kissogram.
Yes, indeed.
I know a lot of people, or a number of people, don't like Amy as a character. Didn't really like Karen Gillan very much and found her a little bit cardboardy, I think.
Yeah.
But I like her. I think she makes a really good companion.
She's fine. I can see where they're coming from, to be honest, when I'm watching the episode. But I think she's quite a good companion.
Yeah, no, I like her. Okay, so too bad. No stealing mine for this one.
Sorry?
No stealing my bad.
I'm not going to steal yours. I'm going to say it's a crap one, this one. just the story's like. Story's an important thing in Doctor Who, I think. When you don't have a solid story, the episode doesn't work. But this episode doesn't really need a story, I don't think. No. But the story itself, there isn't a strong storyline in this episode. It's a fine one, but it's just not played upon too much. So that's a minor flaw there.
Yeah, but I think you could certainly put that same... you could have led to that same failing against, say, the pilot, which I think had an even thinner storyline.
I would agree.
But personally, I don't. I know that it's a difficult one to come up with a bad for this one because it's actually a very solid episode. But I don't necessarily agree with the poor story.
I don't think it's a poor story. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to think of a bad. Yeah, you just that's not yours.
Yeah, and I'm not sure you even agree with me on my one when I come onto it in a second.
Not overly. I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah. Which we'll go on to that now. I don't like Matt Smith's talk at the end.
No, you never like Matt Smith's talk.
I don't know.
Do you like the Rings of Akatem?
No, I hate it.
Why?
I hate the big long speech. I hate it.
What about Time of the Doctor?
I think the thing is...
I think his Time of the Doctor one's good.
That one's alright, yeah. I just find his... I think it's because of that eccentric way that he talks at times.
Yeah,
I find it very insincere.
Yeah.
And I don't, more than anything, I don't like the speech very much at the end anyway, but I don't like the just leave bit. I can't remember exactly what he says.
Basically run.
Basically run, yeah. Basically run. I don't like that bit. I find it really corny.
No.
I think the other thing, which I'll say here, and I talked about this a little bit on the other day, but it's wrong to criticise it because this is Stephen Moffat's first episode as showrunner, but it used a technique that he used quite a lot of times throughout the series, which is to have all of the Doctors showing.
Yes.
Which I think in itself, as a one-off, works really, really well. But I think he overplayed that. He did that probably certainly three times in time, and I think
twice
probably more than that.
Time he did it.
He did it there. Yeah, he did it in There the Doctor.
Yeah, but that's.
He did it in Name of the Doctor. He did it in this one, and I'm sure it happened at other times as well.
It did, it would have done.
I believe so. But I can't criticise it here because it's the first one. So
indeed,
yeah.
So
what do you think of that speech?
I quite like it. I think I like it how it blends the show of the 10 Doctors and then Matt Smith goes through it. I can see there's a bit of cringe. It doesn't really suit him, does it? As well as it does with Peter Capaldi. No. It's fine. I don't have any problems with it, but I don't think it's one of the great moments of Doctor Who history, one of the standout moments of Doctor Who history. But I can see why people would think so.
I think if I was looking at a second bad, it builds on yours to a certain extent, but I don't think to me it's not the story that's lacking, but they create this really cool villain, Prisoner Zero.
Yeah.
And actually, it doesn't really get the chance to do anything.
It doesn't, no.
It just walks around with a dog for a while.
Yeah. Then it goes into Olivia Colman from Broadchurch.
You don't actually see it do anything, really, though, do you? You don't see it doing anything that evil.
No.
Which will be interesting when we come on to the threat factor in a minute. But
yes, it will.
So, I mean, overall for this story, I think it's a solid opening for Matt Smith.
It's fine, yeah.
It introduces us very well to the new Doctor, to Amy, and to Rory. It introduces a great-looking monster into the mix, but then fails to really deliver on it as a great villain. And that'd be this episode in a nutshell.
Yes, indeed. Scores.
Okay.
Monsters.
I think the monster itself looks really cool. I think Prisoner Zero is a really cool monster. The Atraxi's a bit naff, but the is really cool. I'm going to give it a 8. Threat. Well, it's threatening to blow up the planet, but if we look at it as from Prisoner Zero's threat, 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Excitement.
It's quite exciting though, but not blow away exciting. 7.
Okay. Story.
Story, probably about a 7.
Yep. And what's the other one?
Pace.
Pace.
Got a good pace to it, actually. Which is, I think these extra few minutes they've tagged onto this episode really do it justice. I'm going to give it an 8 for pace.
Okay, so that's a 34 out of 50, which is a decent score, I think.
And it's a decent episode.
It is a decent episode, yeah.
And in fact, if I was looking at it an overall score, I'd probably give it somewhere around 8.4.
I was thinking an 8.2.
Yeah. I think it's solid. I still don't think it's quite as good as people say it is, but I do think it's. There's a lot of mediocre episodes in Matt Smith's era. If I'm being frank about it, when it's really great, but this isn't really great.
No,
but it's solid.
Yes, it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. Probably it's good for its purpose.
It's a 3 out of 4 sort of story.
Yeah, 3 out of 4. Yeah. We don't have the Twitter poll in front of us, so we can't.
We don't. No. But do you know from memory roughly what people thought?
No.
No. Okay.
You can look on Twitter, which will reveal how you can do that in a second.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we've obviously not got a randomizer this week because we've. But what? Just to give a bit of background, so it's not like that we're fudging it completely. The randomizer randomly selects episodes for us to watch. We've been doing it, alternating it between classic and new Who, but we've not yet split the randomizer into 2 models. Last week, when we pressed it needing a new Who one, it selected Dalek Invasion of Earth.
Which is one we really wanted to watch because I love Dalek Invasion of Earth and it's one of the ones that Deagle's been hotly anticipating watching.
Yeah.
So next week, we'll be watching at least 3 parts, if not 4 parts of Dalek Invasion of Earth.
Yeah. We may even, if we're enjoying it too much, we may even go full whack on it and watch the whole thing. We should see because we've got a bit of time.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Well, we'll let you know next week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent.
And we'll set up a Twitter poll and we'll reveal how you can find that later on.
Fantastic.
Next week, it's episode 250. So episode 250, make sure you tune into that one. It's going to be a special one.
Ooh.
And we're going to be discussing our top 10 moments of Doctor Who history. So we're going to be writing out our top 10 Doctor Who moments of all time.
Ooh, okay.
And we'll be revealing those and discussing those, obviously in separate lists.
Excellent.
What else have we got?
We'll be talking about either a bit of or all of the Dalek Invasion of Earth.
Yeah, which is season's final story.
Yeah.
We'll have the latest news and views.
And we'll be pressing the magic randomizer, maybe.
And we'll have a little bit of a discussion on the last 250 episodes, the past, the present, and the future of Doctor Who Time and Space. So
Fantastic.
Don't miss that. The special milestone 250th episode, and please get in your wishes by Twitter.
Okay.
At DRWho Time und Space. And if you want your comments read out, then please share some memories of Doctor Time and Space or give us some congratulations. We'd love that. And then you can vote in our poll for the Invasion of Earth and vote in polls and interact with discussions and do all sorts of things.
Excellent. We've also got the not used anywhere near enough from our perspective, Too Good, Too Bad Twitter, which we must get into the habit of redoing.
Yes. You can listen to the podcast at Doctor Who Time and Space at Podomatic, Doctor Who Time and Space at iTunes, and the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance. You can watch our videos at Miss Liz Mean at YouTube, and you can go to our website at misslizmeanadventures.weebly.com for the latest news and updates.
Thank you very much for listening, everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. I've been Lewis Mean.
I've been Dr. Cool.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you've enjoyed the show. We will see you next time, same time.
Same space.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.